The 5-star in Doha was cancelled, so all the attention was focused on Den Bosch for the first Grand Slam of the year. The course, technical but fair. The riders in the jump-off, exciting. And the winner, expected. Let's break down everything from the Dutch Masters in a minute, because first the quick strides presented by UVEX. Dutch rider Sanne Thijssen has retired her longtime partner Contenders RB after 13 years together. The 20-year-old stallion by Kinar has jumped his final round in the competition ring. In a fitting finale, Contenders finished second in the 4-star Grand Prix at the Sunshine Tour before Sanne Thijssen made the emotional decision to retire him immediately afterwards. In a video shared by the event, Thijssen said, "He has given me incredible results in the last 13 years that we've been partners. He made my entire career and I'm incredibly grateful for this horse." Contenders' victories include the Rotterdam Grand Prix in 2021, the Longines Global Champions Tour Grand Prix wins in Madrid in 2022 and in 2023 in Valkenswaard. Still in top fitness at 20, he was a remarkable phenomenon who always gave his absolute best. The CSIO 5-star Grand Prix in Abu Dhabi, the Grand Prix part of the Longines League of Nations, was not in compliance with FEI regulations. Course designer Frederik de Backer built a second round with 10 obstacles instead of the maximum 9 allowed under the rules updated in January 2026. The violation went unnoticed by other officials, including the jury president. The FEI acknowledged the oversight, stating, "Unfortunately, this anomaly was not detected before the competition. The FEI will strengthen its procedures with officials to ensure such situations do not occur again." Last year, Roteberger's courses at CHIO Aachen were heavily criticized. This year, he has been selected as the course designer for the World Championships in Aachen this summer. French rider Olivier Robert has fractured his collarbone and will miss the second leg of the Longines League of Nations in Ocala next week. Robert suffered the injury last week and recovery is expected to take a few weeks to heal properly before returning to competition, he confirmed on social media. The French Equestrian Federation has called up Julien Anquetin, who will replace him riding Beau de l'Aubry in Ocala. The French team won the first leg in Abu Dhabi and head to Ocala as the series leaders. Over the past few days, weeks and months, I've learned that living in a state of expecting is really, really remarkable. You expect phone calls, a message, just any little sign makes your heart skip a beat. You make a little bit of a jump within yourself. You imagine the moment, what it will look like, what it will feel like when that moment is actually there. And then, like clockwork, every week the team here at the Horse Show feel the same thing. Every week it walks through the door and expectation and expecting becomes reality. Every week we expect Joe Clee and every week he's here. What a great feeling of expecting. Welcome, Joe Clee.
I didn't see the turn coming in that conversation. We're good.
I thought a lot about that intro, to be fair.
Yeah, you thought a lot about it and you caught me off guard, I have to say. I thought we were going into sort of expecting new life and all that sort of stuff.
That's exactly where I wanted to go.
Yeah, got it. You got me.
Yeah, and still no new life, so that's why we just do another Horse Show.
No,
yeah.
Good.
Thank you for your flexibility. Joe, we just discussed the retirement in the quick strides, retirement of Contenders RB of Sanne Thijssen. Yeah. How will you look back at Contenders?
It's been a pleasure to have him in the sport, hasn't it? Excitement. I think if you had to put it in one word, excitement. The jump-offs, obviously how long she's had him. She started in juniors with him?
Yeah, 13 years.
Juniors.
He was out for 2 years.
Yeah.
She started juniors, European Championship juniors.
And I think some of his best wins came after he's been out for 2 years. So that just shows, and really that sums him up, doesn't it? He jumped on his heart, he jumped on his character. They had an amazing relationship. I think that's the best way to put it. And that came out in their rides. You know, the questions she asked in the jump off, sometimes you were edge of the seat stuff, but he always gave her everything. You know, every question she asked, he answered. It was a pleasure to have them in the sport and pleasure to see him do his thing.
Absolutely. Unbelievable horse. Worth going over to the social media channels of the Sunshine Tour. A beautiful tribute video made there at the Sunshine Tour. It is a must-watch. You just have to go and watch it. What was also a must-watch was this weekend's Dutch Masters in s-Hertogenbosch in Den Bosch, the Netherlands. The first Grand Slam of the year, of course, with Aachen, with the Spruce Meadows, and with Geneva still to come later this year. Joe, we were talking about expectation, about excitement, your heart skipping a beat. How did you feel when I texted you the start list of the Grand Prix?
Yeah. I don't know if my heart skipped a beat, but it was.
It's honest.
It was definitely nice to see that start list. I think it's the first start list we've had this year, if we're honest. All the top riders coming together. You know, not everyone was there, but I think 7 from the top 10.
Yeah.
That's what we need. That's what we need in our sport. All the top riders coming together and battling it out, and that's what we got in the end. It made it a good class.
Was a really good class.
Yeah.
Credits as well to course designers. We'll talk about course in a minute. On that start list, there was one, let's be honest, odd name.
Yeah.
Julie Davy.
Yeah, I've also not heard of her. I think she's qualified for the World Cup finals through the New Zealand League. You're going to tell us the statistics.
Yeah, no. She rode 5 World Cup qualifiers.
Yeah.
Top 3 in all of them. Won 1, and I think 3 times second.
Yeah, so she's done a really good job.
But that's qualifying in New Zealand. However, let's be honest and call a cat, if that's a saying in English. I don't think so, but
we can
make
call
it from now on.
Yeah.
Cat.
Cat.
It's actually Dutch, een kat noemen. Anyway, if you qualify in New Zealand, we have to be realistic and say,
yeah.
Maybe that level isn't the same. She then comes in here, picks a 5-star Grand Prix.
And not just a 5-star Grand Prix, one of the biggest.
Exactly. We look at her round. How well did she look in that Grand Prix or not?
I thought she looked comfortable. She looked comfortable. The horse is more than capable. And she looks like she's more than capable as a rider. You see greenness. I think here she ended up doing one more, lost a bit of balance in the corner, ended up doing one more. If you could say anything, just lacked a bit the European pace. You know, she was a little bit behind pace the whole way around. But capability-wise, the horse has the capability to go to the World Cup final. And riding-wise, I think the only thing she'd have to do is get a little bit more on the pace.
Yeah. Cool horse.
Yeah, cool.
Bred in New Zealand. Out of another mare that was very successful in World Cups, Coleman Casal Lavaletto. And then I looked at the start list, and on the start list and everywhere it says HHANZ. So I looked up, I thought, what start book is that? It has to be something with New Zealand. It is the Haflinger Horse Association New Zealand. I don't know what went wrong. I'm sure there was a mistake in there, but somebody has to set the record straight because that's not a Haflinger. Haflinger Horse Association New Zealand, bred by Ewan McIntosh, who also invented a computer.
Okay.
No, that's not true. Yeah, so that is Julie Davy. We already saw bits and pieces of the course. In the end, it was fluctuating between 2 parts of the course that were most influential, the double with the plank or the triple combination. Let's start with the triple combination. What did Louis Konings build and why was it so difficult?
Louis Collins has done an amazing job. The whole course was spot on. I think what he's built here, a big oxer coming out the corner with a bit of width on it. And then actually a 6 stride. So it's 27 meters, which is a 6.
27 meters.
27 meters.
If you have that between 2 normal fences at meter 60, it's 6 strides.
6 strides.
Okay.
All day long, that's a 6 strides. But actually, most of the field opting to do a 7. And I think the ox was quite wide coming out of a corner, so you're not going to get a really big jump unless you attack it. Landing a bit dead here and then opting to do this 7 strides. So actually, to get a slow jump into the combination. The reason you want a slow jump into this combination is so you can get a slow jump in, that this stride is normal and you get a nice neutral jump on the vertical. What I mean by that, you want me to go deeper on that?
Yes, please.
If you get a slow jump in on this vertical, too slow, too deep, then you have to push for this vertical. You end up landing too far, and this oxer was a killer coming out. So if you ended up going too far and having to slow down on the oxer, the back bar was so far away. The other, I'll just tidy that up because it's a little bit of a mess. The other way to jump it was to come in on the 7, get a big slow jump in here so you can have a easier stride here, a neutral jump, so then you can have the momentum carry you out over the oxer. It's all about having a neutral or an easy jump on the second part so you can let the momentum carry you out over the oxer. If you have to hold here on this vertical, yeah, then the oxer's too far away. Equally, if you're flying over that vertical, then you end up too deep to the oxer, the back bar's also too far away. Really, really difficult. And it's all about the approach. You also had riders with the bigger strides, the bigger striding horses, that were doing 6 here. So they were getting a good jump on the oxer and then having 6 level strides, but all of them that did it well slowed down in the end. You know, so the last stride coming into the combination was a slow stride. Easy jump in, then they can jump the middle part with balance, kind of in a neutral way, and then let the momentum carry them out over the oxer.
We'll bring up a few examples. Let's start here with young Mans Thijssen. Mans Thijssen, 24-year-old from the Netherlands, home Grand Prix for him. Also look at how the horse takes off in front of the triple.
So he left the 7 a little bit late. He got it in the end, but he left it a little bit late and then ran out of room coming in. So had to wait a little bit on the second and didn't get there to jump the oxer coming out, you know? Also, Daniel did the 7, and I think he rode it extremely well, gave room. Nice jump on the second. And see, even if you rode it well, it was still a difficult jump to jump. Just didn't stretch quite enough out. Also did the 7 strides, a little bit deep coming in. And then, yeah, that was a little bit unlucky. I think he also rode it very well. I think also he had a martingale malfunction. It's a very sharp horse, so I think it was a little bit distracted.
Very early already at fence 3, it broke 14 fences in the course. You mentioned those that did 6. There's not that many. We'll bring up 3. Of course, if you talk about leaving out strides, something for Richard Vogel.
But watch the last stride, nice and slow. Then here was a very neutral jump, and then the momentum just carried him out. That was textbook riding, perfect.
What let?
Gregory had to push a little bit too much for the 7, then had to help him a bit. Sorry, for the 6, had to help him on the vertical, and then didn't get there coming out. Up on the 6, a little bit of room to jump in. Has to help him there, and then was quite lucky to get the back bar.
So that's what you mean with the neutral jump in the middle. You see that the Leicester has to help him. He clears it, but it's squeezing and turning. But so you're saying because he comes in too fast, comes in too long, he gets close to the second part, has to help the horse.
Yeah.
That slows your rhythm, the momentum gets you out.
Everything about this combination is the way they're coming in, the 6 or the 7, you have to know your horse, 6, 7. You have to know your horse.
Oh, not again.
You have to know your horse to how you can best jump the second part. It's all about jumping the second part well to make the oxer easy. The oxer is the most difficult part, but it all depends on how you jump that middle part. So your approach has to be all down to you jumping the middle part. So however you jump in is the best way for your horse to jump the middle part, the easiest to let the momentum carry you out.
Because you can't think about the oxer, because you first have to jump the verticals in front.
Yeah.
We just saw the Leicester. The Leicester also rode a remarkable last line at first. This is the Leicester's approach to the last. We'll talk about this double combination for other riders in a minute. Comes round the turn, jumps the vertical. What does he do, and what was our reaction?
So yeah, I mean, he does 7. He really has to push up on the 7. Got a little bit of flat jump there, and then 5. I mean, that was a 7 or an 8 to the Oxer. Most riders opting to do 8, and then a short 6. So he does 7, got there a little bit flat jump, and then opting to do 5 to the last.
So when I saw it, I thought, oh, that's probably a riding mistake. Maybe he changed his mind or he felt something. We got in touch with the Leicester, and he just said, no, that was my plan with his step, with his stride, also the easy 6 into the triple. I thought that the 7 and the 5 would be very normal. And actually, I got the 7 too early. I got there too early. I could have stayed more quiet in riding my 7 strides. Remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, the view looks like he got there a little bit flat. A little bit open, a little bit flat. The last stride was a little bit there, you know, rather than having him on the hocks. I mean, I wasn't there riding it, so it might.
No, but that's what he said. I could have stayed more quiet and supported him because I got there easier than I thought.
Yeah, I think maybe stay a bit more inside so he could close a little bit more the last stride.
Yeah.
Now he looked a little bit flat the last stride, and then I think then he rode it well to do the 5. If the 5 was the plan, then yeah, you had to get there a little bit forward.
One more line. We're going to bring the telestrator back once more. There was one more line, like we said, that was battling for which fence would be most influential, and that was the line with the double combination. Joe, a double combination with a plank, a lot in that line.
Yeah, so you're coming off Oxer at the corner here, 3 strides, and then you come on a sort of dog's leg here to the double. You had to know your horse. It was walked a short 6, so for the bigger steppers to come outside a little bit to give you room, and for the normal steppers to come middle to middle. I think this line, the most important was the last stride. Your work had to be done. The riders that were still working to get the distance, the last stride, didn't have the balance. You know, when you jump a delicate plank there, it was all one color. Coming into a double, your work has to be done. So your last stride, you can just sit there, balance, and let the horse do his job.
It's interesting. We've talked about balance a lot in this show, so we are repeating ourselves. But every time I hear you say it, I also realize if you ride 6 strides and the 6 are waiting or holding or whatever, actually you only have 5. And if you think about it, your first stride is a recovery stride. That means that you only have 4 to work if you want to be in balance and at least relaxed in your body and in your hand in your last stride. If you count back, you have less and less strides actually to get your work done. I mean, also I can imagine for people at home that are maybe not regular 5-star riders, and you think, but I can also ride 6 holding strides. It's not about riding 6 holding strides. It's about riding 4 holding strides and getting that done in that line.
That's why I'm always talking about these riders that have a strong body position on the jump and are looking up on the jump. Because you're looking up, you have a strong position. Then when the horse lands, it's quite a lot of power when the horse lands. So the quicker you're back into your riding position, the quicker you recover. So if you're there already, like a Ken Farrington, when he lands, he's already in that position. Then he's got 1 stride extra. If you see what I mean, you know, he's got 1 stride more than the other riders. That's why it's so important to recover quickly. But I think going back to this line, you could use the curve of the line to help you. So if you know your horse is a big step and he's going to get there early, you stay on the outside, so it gives you more time to recover, and then you can sit quiet to the last stride to let the horse do his job.
Here are a few examples. We've got Robert Whittaker lined up, Kim Emmen and Willem Greve for the second time in this episode. First, Whittaker with Vermento. So here's the 3 strides.
Yeah, for me, just maybe stayed a bit inside, still had to hold the last stride, and then the horse shifts a little bit to the left to give himself more room. Probably could have stayed a little bit more outside to give him a bit more room. I think Kim rode it well. Maybe again, could have stayed a bit more outside to have more room. Again, I think we spoke about Willem. It's a little bit unfair to judge him. He had a martingale bouncing around on an extremely sharp horse, so I think he was a bit handicapped there with the martingale bouncing around. It's you know, horses have to be so focused to do this top sport. And when you've got something like that happen, it's very difficult then, certainly with a sharp mare like that.
Yeah, makes sense. It was a round with a lot of fours. It was a round with 4s and 8s mainly. So let's have a look at who went through to the jump-off on their clean round. Sophie Hinners first to go with Iron Dame Sinclair. Then Farrington, who was at that point the live contender for the Grand Slam. Then Vogel with United Touch. Mansur with the 19-year-old Antonio. Keenum, Devos, Hoekstra, Fuchs. Van Eckermann, Spits. And then the second German, Bas Moerings with Ipstar. So 11 went clear. First to go was Sophie Hinners, rode 8 strides in the first line, had a fence down. Then live contender, Kent Farrington with Tulane. And let's bring that round up. She was blazing.
Yeah. Fantastic start. See here, just what we spoke about. Look at his landing. He lands nearly back in the saddle. Perfect balance. Looking where he's going. Look at how quick he recovers.
7 into the combination, 10 to the wall.
Fell a bit out through the shoulder there. That's a great turn back. And then I understand why. I think if he'd been later on in the jump off, he would always do 5. You know, normally when you have a rollback like that, I think you don't get a big jump on it.
Because the first line we had the fault on the last and on the penultimate fence. That's the line where we saw the Leicester do 5 strides.
Yeah, that's right.
But it is also the line where everybody had an outside 6. I think we've got Farrington's line in the first round.
Yeah. Okay.
So that we see how he rode in the first round.
So he does 8 strides there. No, he did 8, didn't he?
Sorry. Yeah.
And then an outside 6. No, he did 7. He did 7 and then 6.
Yep.
And I think if he had the forward 7 there and then still had the 6 quite nicely, then I can understand why he did the 6 in the second round. You know, because you're coming off a turn back.
Which would give you a shorter jump over that oxen normally and with no forward momentum.
Yeah, so you're on a short turn back, no forward momentum. And then I think he planned the 6 and the 6 just got too short for him.
Yeah.
If he had to ride that 10 more times in that jump off, it just easy 5.
5.
He would easily would have got there easily on the 5 and then would have had a little bit more room to jump it.
Yeah, that is Kent Farrington. Straight after Richard Vogel, everybody had him highlighted on start lists. The pundits and all the experts had him high. Yeah, this is straight away where it happens. First line.
6 strides. And then still a lovely turn back, you know. Normally you'd be flying out there on the 6 and make the turn back difficult, but somehow, and here, look. So
9 is
quick
tidy.
on the turns. So quick on the turns. Head round the corner. Look how tight he turns. Actually, was a little bit too deep there. And I think that's, he's got this Hackamore on now, and I think that's really helped him with those turns. Even though he's a bit deep, he can still help him a little bit. Oh, such an amazing man.
Yeah. There's a lot to unpack from that round. Starting with, you mentioned Hackamore.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you say it was too deep, but the Hackamore helps him?
Well, I think before, when he was doing these tight jump-offs in the indoor season, when you make a turn back like that, sometimes you've got what you've got. You saw there, he turned the corner, he was a little bit too deep. Before, we've seen in the jump-offs where he's a little bit too deep like that and he's tried to hold him off, the jump's broken a little bit. He didn't finish the jump behind.
And that was with a mouthpiece, you mean, with a normal bit?
Yeah, with a normal bit. And here with the Hackamore, he turns the corner a little bit deep, can hold the front end a little bit, and he still makes a lovely jump and finishes behind.
Because it's remarkable. Watched his rounds also from day one. I call it a warm-up round, meter 40, meter 45 class. There he rides him in a Pelham.
Okay.
So one day in a mouthpiece, and then on the big days in a Hackamore. What could the thinking behind that be?
Trevor Coyle always told me, he said, if you find a bit that works, don't use it. You know, I think sometimes you use a bit and it loses the effect. Certainly with a Hackamore or a Hacker bit, these type of things, you know, the more you use them, the less effect it has sometimes. So using a pelham the first day, maybe to put a little bit of control on, knowing that he's not going to jump as good in the pelham. And then you put the hackamore on and you get that nice feeling again. If you ride every day in a hackamore or hacker bit, they can get a little bit heavy or stiff in it. Yeah. So I guess I'm guessing, but I guess that's the...
People might be wondering, wait a minute, who is Trevor Coyle?
He's one of the best riders, cruising. Remember cruising?
Aachen Grand Prix winner, no?
Yeah.
Cruising,
yeah.
2000.
He's one of the best. I was lucky enough to train with him for a little while in my career. He's so knowledgeable.
And
Irish rider.
A great guitar player.
Yeah, great guitar player.
And singer?
Well, it's okay. It's okay.
Guitar, yeah.
Okay.
You can't,
very good rider and guitar player. That's already quite a line.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So Richard Vogel leaves out a stride on 6-2, from 1 to 2 in the jump off, leaves out a stride in the combination, leaves out a stride to the wall, leaves out a stride to the penultimate fence, and takes the lead. Was it a fight?
I don't think so.
From there on?
No, I think they were riding for second place. You know, with that stride, actually for a big horse with such an exuberant jump, he also jumps quick. You know, he's quick in the air, he's quick across the ground, he turns quick and he leaves strides out. And Richie just had everything nailed on every turn. Where can you save time?
Because when he does those leave outs, he moves quicker over the ground, but he never goes off his hind leg, and he always lands after the fence in balance. Like, he makes those turnbacks are as easy as for a rider who adds the stride.
But I think we're calling them leave outs.
It's not even, it's
for him, he doesn't have to push to get there, you know?
The 6 was normal.
The 6, he was still in balance to jump the 6. It's not that his last stride was crazy or pushing, you know? His last stride was still in balance, even though he leaves one out. I think the important thing to remember, he's got a massive stride and he likes to take off really far away. So he doesn't have to push too much to get to where he wants to be or get to where he needs to be to make a nice jump. Yeah. And then his turns afterwards are just phenomenal.
Super. Phenomenal. From Vogel over to Yuri Mansur with his 19-year-old QH Alphonse Santo Antonio. Just another beautiful round. Maybe the first round from him was the best round of the first round?
Yeah.
One could say?
I would definitely agree with that. Yeah. I think his first round was showing everyone how to do it. That was just unlucky. I think it was really smart riding. You know, he's not the fastest horse in the group, and he went in there and rode his own round. He didn't get wrapped up in the fight. He rode his own round and was really unlucky. It should have been a double clear, but that's just the sport. That's just
brilliant insight that he gave us afterwards in an interviews in the In and Out studio with Amy. Alphonse jumped clear in Aachen in 2022, jumped with 2 time penalties in Geneva in 2023, was placed in Aachen, was clear in first round in Calgary 2024 and 2025, and now jumps clear and is placed in 2026 in Den Bosch. So over 4 years in the 4 Grand Slams, clear and placed.
It's pretty good.
Funny enough, they've been together since 2019. I don't think there's 2 more years in the career of that horse. They haven't won a 5-star Grand Prix or World Cup yet.
I think it looks like this horse has still got plenty of life, and what he's doing is he's planning it for him. You know,
he's managing it for him.
He's managing it really well, so he's going to for sure get a few more years out. The only reason I think he's not won a 5-star Grand Prix is not jumping scope or talent. It's just his speed. He's a little bit one gear, and Yuri rides him on that gear, and he doesn't ask him more, which is really smart, you know. Yeah. But one day there'll be a Grand Prix where it's all about jumping clear and big jumps, and then hopefully he's there. I hope he wins one. He deserves to win one.
He deserves it. Managing is the key word. We are going to manage the energy, the talent of Joe Clee. So we're going to have a break, and then in a minute, it's true. And then in a minute we will be back with the second part of the horse show. Still analyzing, breaking down that jump off of the Rolex Grand Slam Grand Prix of Den Bosch. Don't go too far, we'll be right back.
Merci Van TNLZ, an exceptional sire with over 40 offspring competing at 1m45 to 1m60 level. Like Diana de Plevuzet with Canadel Motby, who won the 1m50 4-star World Cup Grand Prix in Riyadh. Diablo, Van Richthofen and James Chalk, known for collecting medals, recently won their first 5-star competition. And under Willem Vermeer, Damour JMGZ is a regular contender on the Global Champions League Tour at 1m60 level. You Merci Van TLZ, the proven choice for top-level breeding.
Putting the 10 best teams in the world together, I mean, in which other sport do you have 10 nations that can win?
He's up and over, and he's victorious!
When you're against everybody in the world and they're all at their best, you've got to be at your best.
It's over. It's just an amazing sport.
The magic of equestrian sports, anytime, anywhere. Experience the biggest tournaments live. Immerse yourself in thrilling formats, exclusive content, and an archive full of highlights. Show jumping, dressage, eventing, vaulting, driving, all in one place. Horses, sport, entertainment. Clip My Horse TV.
Welcome back to the Horse Show. We are halfway through the jump off. We've got still a few riders to go. Richard Vogel has just passed. If you missed that, go back to the first part of this episode and we'll make sure that you catch up with everything. By the way, Joe, great news. The Horse Show is easier to find than ever. Now you can just type on the Clip My Horse search bar, The Horse Show, and all the episodes come up. That was not easy in the beginning, and now it's actually much, much easier. So you can even go back and watch old episodes.
So then my mum can stop calling me every week to ask how to find it. Mum?
Frederik, oh no, the team at Clip My Horse fixed it. Lily Keenan has flown from the States just for this event to the Dutch Masters. She's competing next week in Ocala again for the Longines League of Nations stage, but here with Kick-On. I'm sorry, I never looked at Kick-On as, wow, that big Grand Prix horse, but here he does deliver a very, very good round.
Absolutely. I mean, he's absolutely a trier. I think she manages him very well as well. You know, she doesn't have him in the big classes every week. And a fantastic round. I think 1 to 2 was perfect. A little bit deep if
on the turn back.
On the turn back to the third fence. And then the rest of the course, she absolutely nailed it. It's a great round.
Brave 5 there, I think it was to the Oxford.
5. Horse handled it really well. Really careful. I think just the turn back. You know, like we always say on the Horse Show, sometimes in the jump-offs, you've just got what you've got out the corner. Turned the corner, ended up having to make one too many or a bit deep on the stride she had, and then you get the fault. You get the fault quick.
Over to Pieter Vos with his homebred casual DVZ, the 11-year-old De Vos. Clear in Basel, clear in the Doha Grand Prix, clear in another Doha Grand Prix, clear here again.
Yeah, he's just found consistency, hasn't he?
Yeah, and this, Joe, is this, what is this?
Very good.
Brave or just...
Optimistic.
Yeah, oh, that's a good word.
Optimistic. Yeah, you know, he obviously planned the 6, was absolutely committed there again to the wall, you know, really committed himself. I think here maybe had to readjust, take one extra there and then made the option. I think he probably planned the 5, but with that turn back a little bit deep and then ended up changing his mind to the 6.
Yep.
And then probably there also could have done one less top round.
We have quite a few questions about this round, so why shall we not ask the man himself? Welcome to the Horse Show, Pieter de Vos.
Thank you very much.
Pieter,
very happy to be here.
Great weekend in Den Bosch for you with casual DV. Before we get into the fast bit, into the jump off, there were a few things that stood out for us. It was remarkable how many riders had a really hard knock on the first fence. You were also one of them. What was with that first fence?
Actually, we already saw that in the coursework that it was a very, very massive fence. Okay, it's always that VDL fence with that massive plank underneath. But then also it was very square. So actually, it was actually for number one, it was like almost over square. So I think therefore the horses were looking a bit down to that plank, and then at the end they only saw that it was an oxer. In my opinion, that's the only reason I can come up with. But it was a very massive fence to start.
Also jumping a little bit into the corner, I think, as well.
Corner, yeah.
Yeah.
And then also the line towards number one, you had to go behind those fences. And then there was a bit of searching. And then you only had a few straight line. And then into the corner. I think everything a little bit together made that. Also me, I was actually a bit surprised because Casual also, she jumped so high on number one. And I had a little rub on the back pole. Luckily, it didn't fall. But yeah, it was a bit remarkable that it was not only me.
You say happy that it didn't fall, but it feels or it seems that lately you don't have to worry anymore about fences falling with her. Clear and 4 in Basel in the Grand Prix, triple clear in the 1.5 million Grand Prix in Doha, double clear in the Grand Prix afterwards, now double clear in Den Bosch. That is on its own a very strong performance, and even you could even say exceptional. But in the big perspective of everything, the A Coruña European Championships, the Nations Cup in Brussels, the contrast couldn't be bigger. We're looking, and Joe has mentioned it many times here already in the horse show, we're looking at a completely reborn Casual DVZ, maybe also a completely reborn Pieter de Vos. I see you shaking your head. You agree, you disagree? How do you feel about that?
I can talk a lot about it, but I must say that, of course, it was a very disappointing round there in Brussels. But I feel a little bit how many people talk about that only one round where something went wrong. Just to explain, I mean, there is one round with my horse that has been doing very consistent rounds and consistent results, like clear and 4, like almost 2 years in a row. And then you have one round where something goes completely wrong. And then everybody's speaking about that round. So I think, first of all, mentally, as a rider, you have to be, in that case, very strong and say for yourself that you know yourself what is going on, and that you know yourself how you have to manage that situation, because everybody is at that point talking about you and about the horse. And like, okay, I always say every horse can always happen something, and something can go wrong. It is just then how you manage it to stay calm and trust your horse and know that there actually is nothing very bad happens, to be honest. I could really analyze very, very well everything what went wrong that day. So I think because of that analyze, you understand what went wrong, what the situation was. So I also knew that there was not a very big problem. And that also gave me confidence. And I also think that she feels also that confidence from me. Of course, we didn't take any risk to go straight to a big show again. But I think even I could have. But anyway, I didn't want to take that risk. So you at that time, in that time, I was, I think, intelligent enough to take a step back. I did 2 small shows with her. Maybe also I overthought a little bit my riding with her, because actually when she was 7, 8, 9, everything was always going so well, and she was it is such an exceptional horse that you don't think too much about what are you doing. I mean, everything went so natural, fast, and everything went so good all the time. There was actually never a point that there was a big mistake or this or that you have to consider your riding or this or that, just until that moment in Brussels. And then you start to think, okay, it went wrong, but why? And okay, I must say I'm very happy that it maybe happened, because at the end of the day, in a career of a horse, there are some moments that something is going wrong. It is just at that point, okay, set back, think what happened, how I have to manage it, learn from it for the future. But that I never had with her. And maybe with other horses that happens one time when they're 7 or 8, and then it doesn't make such a big impact. But with me, it was a big impact because till then never happened something, and then at one point they're in the spotlight. It happened, you know. That's a little bit the how must I say, the relativeness about the situation that I want to create, you know.
But I think from the outside point of view, and I even talked to you about it once, I think what it was from the outside point of view is that moment what you did was very smart, very clever. After Brussels, you went back to some small shows, rode some small shows and built it back up again. I think you changed some stuff with the attack as well, if I'm not mistaken. And I think those moments, like you say, they do happen. It's inevitable. They're going to happen at one point in a top horse's career. And it's how you manage it then and how you bring the horses back. And from the outside point of view, I think it was a very positive thing. I saw you on a few smaller shows and I saw her confidence coming back. And again, only from the outside point of view, but it looked like it was the moment to drop her back down, and it looks like she benefited from it. And you both learned something from the experience, not a negative thing, a positive thing, I think, in my eyes.
Yeah, 100%. We learned from the situation. I have much more. Yeah, I have her. Okay, I can talk hours about it. I know exactly how she is and how she reacts on. But she was always. She is an extremely smart and sensitive horse, and like I said, till then, for me, she was always too much forward all the time. She wanted to, like, if she would see a jump, she would like even eat it, you know. Just she would never back off of anything. And so I always try to relax her, quiet, relax, not too much leg, because if you give too much leg, she went a little bit in front of me. So always. But then you come at one point that she gets maybe a bit too relaxed. And there I was in that point. And then she was maybe just not enough reactive on my leg anymore. So now, learning from all that, now I can make her relax and quiet, but still keeping her on my leg and keeping the right connection. And I think that's the difference between before what happened and now.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I must say her front. Okay, I think for me, she's the best horse I ever rode, and she's an exceptional horse. The only thing what you could sometimes say was a bit the front. She a little bit over the shoulder, and now her front is so much better than half a year ago. But that's simply because I have more activity, but in a relaxed way, in an easy-going way. She's not scared from my leg anymore or from my helps, you know. And before I had to sit so still, I even couldn't touch her because she would overreact, you know. And then you go to a point that you try to do nothing anymore. But that's also not good. And then I came to the point in Brussels. And now I can do whatever I want. But she will not overreact anymore. Not as much as before, you know. I think that's a little bit the summary of the situation.
But that's a little bit what I mean. Sometimes you come to this point and it forces you to go back and learn something new about yourself, about the horse, about the combination, you know, and that's what we saw from the outside point of view, that it's only made it a better combination, a better team, you know. It looks like a better horse now and more of a combination, you know.
Because you talk, for example, about the front end. You rode an incredibly brave 6 strides into that combination. Yeah. Those 6 were miles away. You flew over that first vertical and the way she handled it, and then you just carried it through. I think there's only 2 or 3 riders that did 9 to the wall. That was Richard Vogel on a huge stride in United Touch, and you with casual. So there is a lot of confidence.
I must say that 6, I don't think I will ride them again if I should do this. They were so far off. Okay. But at the point you decide to do them, there is only one way. That's the way forward. So you cannot go back anymore. And then you have to have the 100% trust of your horse that she takes off. But I must say how she then backs off from the second fence. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, there's no.
But then, then I saw the distance on the wall. I said, "Come on, one more time." And then, to be honest, then I thought, okay, now I really have to step back because I wanted to do also the 5 in the other line. But I thought, okay, I'm overdoing a little bit. So then I knew, okay, I have to ride with my mind and not only with my feeling anymore. And then I did the 6 in that line. And also at the end, maybe one too much to the last. But in that point, there is so much at stake in a Grand Prix like that you also don't want to do stupid things. So I felt that I was going on the edge with the 6, then with the wall. So I had to set back a little bit. And if I wouldn't have done that, first of all, I couldn't catch Richie, for sure not. Then I would have the risk to have a fault because of not setting back a little bit would be too big. And that's that's a decision you make.
Pieter, we're talking about Richard Vogel, of course, on the show as well. You've seen him now, you've seen him a lot, but now we've seen him again in his best form, especially with United Touch. What is going through your mind? You are warming up. You're also getting ready for your round. Did you see Richard Vogel's round? And what were your thoughts when you saw it?
I saw Richard Vogel's round because I wanted to know about if the 6 and the 5 were possible for me. And then I saw that the 6 for him were long, but like still easy. So I said, okay, if I got the right shot, I don't turn too short to number 2. I get the right shot, I go for the 6. The same for the 5. So that's why I saw his round, to know a little bit if it was possible or not for me. Anyway, I even underestimated it because it was much longer than I thought.
Is he the right one to watch?
No, but okay. I also saw a few others, of course. But the thing is, I think it was also the perfect scenario jump off for horses like Richie, for the horse of Thibeau, because they can leave one stride out and still keep going, They can push everywhere. And that's in such a jump off so important that you don't have to wait one time. You can always keep on pushing, And that they could in this jump off. That's also why Thibeau was so fast this time.
This is another Grand Prix that you jump double clear. The mare is in fantastic form. Before we conclude this interview, Pieter, where will we see her next? What's on the plan? What's on short term and long term? What's on the planning for you?
Okay, I decided today, to be honest, it was a little bit in my mind because in Den Bosch she jumped only the 140 on Thursday and the Grand Prix. So I was in my feeling a little bit. I wanted to see how she came back today. I took her on the launch. I rode her a little bit and she felt super today. So I'm gonna take her also to Paris this week. She's gonna jump again a small class on the Grand Prix, and then she will have a break of 4 or 5 weeks. So then she did 2 weeks Doha, 2 weeks off, then now 2 weeks again, and then 4 or 5 weeks break. And then my plan is to do one show before Aachen. Then Aachen will be my first big show again. I might do one other show before, maybe Fontainebleau, I don't know yet. And then probably La Baule Nation Cup. So again, 2-3 weeks in between. And then we will see towards the World Championship how far we are and what other shows we need. But actually, that's a little bit the goal of this year, of course.
All right, super. Pieter, thank you very much for taking the time. We know you are a busy man in between horses, pears and apples, but thank you for taking the time to sit down and talk to us. Congratulations on a great performance, not only last weekend, but over the last few months. And looking forward to see her. We'll probably talk about her, about the Sotermes Grand Prix as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Pieter. Well done.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
That's interesting, Joe. How Pieter analyzes not only his own round, actually also everything that happened before it. The way the outside world looks at it is always different, and the way it actually happens on the inside.
Yeah, but it's very difficult to ignore it at that stage. You know, certainly if it happens in a Nations Cup, you feel like you've got the nation on your shoulders. You know, it doesn't always go well. If it happens somewhere on a 3 or 4 star show somewhere else, doesn't matter. But when it happens on TV in your own country, you feel like people judge you.
On the Nations Cup, that was presented as the homecoming of the Golden Boys.
Yeah, exactly. So,
in any case, the man is in great form. Another man in great form, Hessel Hoekstra, over the moon when Olympic van der Sterrenhoeven jumped clear in the first round. A horse that has been with him now for 3-4 months, and then in the jump off, takes a brick out of the wall. Only time that the wall fell over 2 rounds.
But exciting new combination. Yeah, he's a great rider. Yeah. Great rider, very accurate, very strong. And And it's nice to see such a good horse find a rider, you know.
So, only man to have a brick out of the wall, both in first round and second round. By the way, did you notice that that wall was not on the same place in the first round?
No, I didn't.
So the wall was fence 2 in the first round, but that was in the other corner.
All right.
So they completely moved the wall. I never saw that happen in a jump-off either.
No?
That they actually moved the wall around.
No, I've never seen that, and actually I didn't notice.
And so how does that happen? Do you label all the pieces so you quickly know where you have to put everything? Or do you have 40 people, if it's a 40-piece wall, so everybody has their own piece and then starts from... No?
I think you're overthinking.
Probably. Moving over to Martin Fuchs. Martin Fuchs with LNL Lord.
Very clever round. I think, you know, it's a relatively new combination to this level. And I think he just rode the right round. It's still actually a fast round. You know, if you put this in another Grand Prix somewhere else, he probably wins it. But on this level, we're so used to them seeing flying, you know, and Leone J and all these horses. But he made the right decision. Rode a smart round, looked after him. You see here he goes a little bit wider to get the distance he wants out the corner. Opts to do the 6. It's a really good round.
I think that we've said it a few times already in this episode. When Vogel leads with such dominance, I think that even you always ride, I think, with full commitment, but not with 100% risk.
Yeah.
You already ride what you feel is a fast round, but not with the same determination. I can imagine that you go in and you think, I cannot win this Grand Prix.
Yeah.
So that you not only ride 5% less, but subconsciously ride 10% less.
So it demoralizes them a little bit.
I think so. I think that's really...
Yeah, see, now, but they're actually doing the right thing. They're clever,
Yeah.
they're doing it like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I would still try to go in and pick 2.
By the way, and it's exciting, Martin Fuchs told us that as we are recording this episode, he's jumping Leone J for the first time in, what is it, since more than 5 or 6 months.
Oh, that's good.
That's good.
He's going to be very happy to have him back.
Yeah, planning to bring him back. La Baule should be the first big show for him, and then aiming at World Equestrian Games.
The plan is for the championships. That's good.
So
Fingers
Martin
crossed.
Fuchs is bringing Leone J back, which is really, really great to hear. Hendrik van Eckermann, last time we saw him, got stuck in the 5-star World Cup in Sharjah, but here, with a new mouthpiece, had a fantastic first round and actually also a lovely jump off.
Yeah.
Smart again.
First round was very convincing. And the jump off as well. And I like with the, I think it's a hacker bit or a type of hacker bit, stays a little bit more up in front on the jump, you know, and looks very comfortable jumping. What I mean is actually it's improved the jump this bit, you know. Fantastic horse.
For many people, this will be the second time that they've seen this horse, Kazira.
Yeah.
The previous time was in Geneva when he jumped that previous Grand Slam Grand Prix with 1 fence down in the final line.
Just had coming into the final line, yeah.
And he was really elated about going through that Grand Prix with 1 down. Then spent the whole winter in the Middle East working her. And now, what is it, 4 months later, 3 months later, jumps a clear in the Grand Slam.
And you see 4 months later, they just look more together. You know, there was still a little bit uncertainty stepping up to that level for the first time. And now when he went the first round, looked like he knew it was going to jump clear, you know, just that confidence.
Confidence, that's the right word. Confidence. Let's bring up Thibeau Spits. Thibeau Spits with Impress K van het Kattenheijen was late to go in the jump-off. And the last real challenger for Richard Vogel.
Yeah. I mean, it's the first time I've seen him really go fast. Yeah, he's ridden some fast rounds, but this looked like he was really hungry to win it.
6 into the double.
6 into the double easily.
And a comfortable 6.
Yeah, the fascinating thing with this class, these big horses, the way the course is built, really had the advantage or definitely even ground. You know, they could leave one out and keep moving. I think the course builder did a great job. But we're seeing that more and more, you know. These big horses are actually they're quick jumpers. When I say big horse, I'm talking about United Kingdom and Impress. They're big, they're quick jumpers, they can leave strides out. It's very difficult to beat them now.
Yeah.
Very difficult. And when we go outside, it's going to be even more difficult.
Yeah. Thibeau Spits is sitting on a very spectacular horse, third in Geneva, second now in Den Bosch. Let's bring up Thibeau Spits because he's ready to join us. Thibeau Spits, welcome to the Horse Show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Yeah, very happy to have you on the show, Thibeau. Finally, what a great weekend, but also what a great Grand Prix. Let's start with that first round of the Grand Prix. Joe and I, we've been talking a lot about doing 6 or doing 7 into the triple combination. To be fair, the way you rode that entry into the triple combination on 6 looked magnificent. It was probably the cleanest that we've seen of the entire first round. Was there ever any doubt in your mind about doing 7?
Yeah, there has been actually. I think definitely in the beginning of the course, the Oxer out of the turn jumped quite heavy, and then the 7 looked for the normal option, and then towards the end, more people started to do the 6, and I always had the feeling that it was 6 for me. But I just needed to be able to put him up in the end, and actually I have to say that worked out perfectly in the end. So I'm very happy that I made that choice and I didn't choose for the 7.
It looked really, really clean. Also, at a certain point, and I'm thinking just it's even less than 6 months ago. A Coruña, time penalties. Time was often not easy for you. Time allowed wasn't super short, but there was no room actually. Still, second and a half inside the time allowed. Did anything change in these last 6 months? Is it your experience? Is it his experience? Because it's becoming easier and easier for you.
Yeah, but also in that way, I think we also had to give credit to Louis Konings, as he made it an option to ride the lines, ride the strides, to give big, slower horses a chance to make it in the time allowed. For to say with the leave outs, also in the turns, that not everyone has to make the same line. So I think that's also an important job for a course designer, to not just make it the same course for everyone, to be able to make it the best way possible with a certain horse.
Yeah, I think that's really a good point. I think course builders like this course had an option for smaller horses and bigger horses, and that's part of the course builder's job, like Thibeau said, to make it fair. You saw everyone had a fair chance in this course, I think.
Mm-hmm. Thibeau, could it be possible? I don't know if you remember it. It was the last day of international showing in 2025. It was the 30th of December. World Cup in Mechelen was just over. And if I'm not mistaken, there was a man who came up to you after the World Cup. I think he spoke to you in English. I think his hair was well polished. And it's possible that he said, with that horse, he's a nice horse, he's a really good horse, but you'll never be competitive in a Grand Prix. Did it ever happen? And do you remember who it was?
Wait,
it was after the World Cup in Mechelen. He spoke English and he said, it's a good horse, but you'll never be competitive in any big Grand Prix.
I didn't quite say that.
So what did you say?
You were talking about hair, so I...
Yeah, I have a lack of hair. I have a lack of hair, definitely. No, but do you remember we were... I think I unfortunately told him the story. I was talking to you after the World Cup in Mechelen, and I said he's getting faster, but he's never going to be quite fast enough to do those indoor classes, I think I said.
Yeah.
Okay, I was wrong.
But you disagreed. You really were adamant. Apparently, Joe said you really said, no, it's going to come. You were really convinced that Impress was going to be competitive in these really, really big, fast Grand Prix.
Yeah, but that's also a little bit the thing. As in Mechelen, like for me, everything was waiting and waiting. And I also never had the feeling that was his course. But now here, yesterday, I could make it suitable for him. So, as I said, it's really for course designers. It's a hard job, and but to give the chance to ride it, to do it the best way possible, I think then you do a great job as a course designer.
I'm very, very happy you proved me wrong. Well done.
Thank you, Joe.
Definitely quick enough.
I'm also very, very happy that I'm witnessing when Joe says that he was wrong. So also from my end, thank you very much. Thibeau, Richard Vogel in the end did 6 in the line from the first fence in the jump off to the second. Was that ever on your mind to do that?
Yeah, definitely, actually. I think I would have had them quite easy still. Just maybe the turn after was more of a concern. But then it looked like for a few of the others that even the 7 got quite long. So then that's also why we stick to the 7. I have to say, when I went into the course and I saw the line just on my eye, I also still had the feeling to do the 6. But then he dropped a bit to the inside before the first one and didn't really get a shot to do the 6. So I stick to the 7. And okay, still in the end, I wouldn't have had him. But I think I've done the jump off I wanted to do and I had in my mind. So I don't regret anything or definitely not doing it. Yeah, you never know.
No, I think I was saying to Frederik before we came on, I think the 7 for you was the best option. It looked like the best option when you rode it as well, because you were the time you would have saved doing the 6, I think you would have lost it on the turn back. The turn back was so clean now, the way you did it was perfect.
Yeah.
Very good.
Did you ever have the feeling that there was a battle with Richard Vogel, or that everybody was fighting for second place? Joe and I were texting each other, and we were wondering with what of an animal or what of an extreme mad plan that you had to come out to beat Richard Vogel. Do you think it was possible?
Probably it's possible, but then everything has to go perfect. I think, okay, if it had to happen, it had to come probably from guys like Kent Farrington in yesterday's jump-off. I never really saw myself as a contender to beat him or not at this point, but it's like, for me, it's been very interesting to be able to see him, to learn from him, from his jump off, because that was okay. You know, when he gets the jump off he wants, is probably unbeatable or very hard. Yeah,
I have to say, after seeing you around yesterday and seeing the improvement over the last 6 months of how fast you've managed to make the horse, I think the stuff you learn now in the indoors, it's going to make you faster outdoors. And I think within the next 6 months, I think you will be able to catch him, you know? Okay, it's always difficult to catch Richard Vogel, of course, but, you know, you're definitely on the right track. You're definitely on the right track. It was quick yesterday. I think if you had the shot to the last that you wanted when you turned, you were close. I don't say you would have done it, but you would have been close.
Yeah, to the wall also, I went a bit far out, but yeah. And yeah, to the last, probably as well. I think I saw the first one, but I didn't want to rush it, so that's why I added one. In the end, yesterday I wouldn't have had him, and I also didn't really have the plan to do, so I'm just happy with how I did it, and hopefully there'll be a try.
And let's be honest, 3rd in Geneva, 2nd in Den Bosch. I mean, if you talk about consistency in those Grand Slam Grand Prix, you know what comes next in 68 days? It's Aachen.
Okay.
Yeah, is that now the plan? What are you building up towards? What's your plan? Because you're part of the golden Belgian team that won gold at the Europeans. Yeah, now you jump double clear again after going double clear. What is it, even triple clear, double clear in Geneva? What is your plan for the coming weeks and months?
The coming weeks, not so much. Of course, the big thing or the big dream for this year would be the WEG in Aachen. And now we're making a bit the build up to Artsits. At first, I didn't have the plan to do the first Aachen, but definitely after this weekend, maybe I'll try to still get in.
That would make sense.
I think I should.
Yeah.
All right, Thibeau, congratulations. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us here on the Horse Show. You've given us and many viewers at home a magnificent Sunday afternoon.
Well done, and I will never doubt you again.
Thank you, Joe. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, Joe, Thibeau Spits with Impress K van het Kattenheijen, crediting everybody, course designers, opponents, could also credit himself.
Absolutely. I mean, he's been working for this his whole life, you know. Ponies, horses, he's always, I think I've said it before, he was my rookie of the year.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. But, you know, I've said it before, he's just a super talent, isn't he? You know, he's got feeling, he knows where he is all the time in the ring, and now he's got a horse to match his talent. So,
Bas Moerings.
Thanks for dropping me in it, by the way.
Sorry?
Thanks for getting me in trouble with him, by the way.
My pleasure. If I can get you in trouble, I'll do it any day. Bas Moerings was the last to go for the home nation. Fortunately for him, did not play out and didn't change the final standing of the Grand Prix in Den Bosch. So it is a victory for Richard Vogel on United Touch as Spits in second, Devos in third, then Van Eckermann connecting again with top placings in 5-star Grand Prix, Fuchs as number 5 on a clear, and then Keenan with a very fast 4. Keep that in mind, that would have been third on those 4 penalties if she would have been clear. Then Hinders, Mansur, Hoekstra, Farrington on 8 penalties, and there is Moerings, Brash with the fastest 4 from the first round, same for Gilles Thomas with Calista and the rest of the group. That is the final standing. Dutch Masters, the first Grand Slam of the year out of the way. Aachen, 68 days, depending on when you are watching this live on the 24/7 channel or on from the archive, then of course that will change. Aachen in 68 days, in just a few days. This is coming up this week, presented by the Aloga show advisor on Clip My Horse. It is a Launching League of Nations in Ocala, second leg of 4 Nations Cups. And I have to say, if you look at who is going to Ocala, the Americans with a very strong team, McLean Ward, Laura Kraut, Aaron Vale and Lily Keenan. Germans also very strong with, I presume, Chakaria jumping on the Nations Cup team. And also the Irish, if you look at the startup or the lineup just a few days before the event, those seem to be the 3 teams to look out for. And is Pieter de Vos going to connect with a clear again in a 5-star Grand Prix? Or will it be somebody else? Well, that's also coming at you. That will be on the Clip My Horse channel. That is the s-Hertogenbosch Grand Prix live from Paris. That is all for this week. We started the show with expectation. What are you expecting for the rest of the week and for the weekend to come? Joe, you've had an easy week the week before. What's on your expectancy? That's not a right word.
Well, you're expecting.
Yeah, I'm still expecting.
You're expecting. So I'm expecting you to give me a call and tell me you've had a baby.
Yeah, okay.
That's my expectations this week.
Okay, easy. I will try to fulfill and make that happen. We are expecting you to join us for the Launching League of Nations from Ocala, for the s-Hertogenbosch competitions from Paris, or whatever is on the Clip My Horse live streams. Make sure that you catch all of that, and if you can't, maybe we have an episode on s-Hertogenbosch and on Ocala next week. If not, we have got a breeding episode ready for you. In any case, have a great week and see you soon. Bye-bye.